Yeah, it's an exciting week. Getting back into the regular season. We've had 3 exhibition games, been able to push the guys pretty well in this preseason segment. But it's, as everybody knows, coming out of what we've been dealing with as student athletes, coaching staffs, just it's time to play. It's time to play a meaningful game. And I think Paula said it as well. Last spring it was great that the kids got to play, but it wasn't a traditional season, and we're going into a traditional fall season. Kicks off 5 o'clock against SIUE on Thursday, and really excited about where the group is. Playing some very good defense, which is important in college soccer, but also we just have a more dynamic attack. Pleased with a lot of the newcomers who have joined us. Not all true freshmen. We've got some graduate students, some transfers, that has helped mature this team. It's probably the most mature team we've had since definitely 2017. And we're adding more pieces. We've got our last player will be joining us on Wednesday from Spain, who will be a big piece of our attack as well going forward.
Questions for Coach Trask? Todd?
Hey, John, how are you doing?
Good.
You mentioned having a more dynamic attack, and I think we saw little pieces of that in that exhibition against Forward. Would you say that you can at times put a team on its back foot and keep them there for a while? Is that some of the things you want to see pressing forward a little bit this year?
Yeah, no question. We've, due to, some guys maturing, some injuries, some things that have been going on within the program, we had to play a lot of on our back foot, as you say, and had to grab a goal here and there, which we did at times, especially in Big Ten play, and we were tough to play against. But this group is just a more dynamic attacking, getting Tim Bialik healthy, Noah Mielek being back in the fold full time with us, Andrew Akindelli now going into his 4th year. Michael Wampler has shown great improvement. Henry Tophoven can play up there. It's there's more competition, but there's no more quality as well. And these guys have gotten to know each other. That final piece, the goal scoring, we could have had 3, 4, maybe even 5 goals against St. Thomas the other day. And they played on their back foot. And I think a lot of our guys, that's a new experience for them. You're either kind of on your front foot in soccer or you're on your back. And I think more often this season, we're going to be able to possess the ball and keep the ball where the other team's going to have to decide, do they want to high press us and deal with our ability to get in behind them, or are they going to have to sit off a little bit more? And that's always a learning curve with the group. But we will see those tactics again, I'm sure, as the season goes on. And there'll be times where we have to be tactically, savvy as well, depending on who we're playing in the Big Ten and where the game is. But yeah, really excited about this group. And, in the development of some of our younger players that were freshmen last year, Elliot Pokowitz, Ethan Chung, Marat, these guys got some very valuable minutes. While it's tough for them to break in right this second, we really feel that helped our overall depth. And then the new additions like Aron and Danny Iskra and Kyle McCurley from Wake Forest, who's eligible as a 5th-year senior graduate student. We stack up pretty well, we think, right now.
Lance?
Hi, Coach. Yeah, I'm curious, with so many newcomers, are you maybe a little ahead of the game then? It sounds like you're pretty happy with where you're at right now, and there had to be quite a learning curve.
It started with the preparation the guys put in, and it always does. They went and found competitive environments. They worked their tails off to get ready for this season. And when a group of players does that, good things usually happen. We've been able to focus on a lot more details, little things with this group, rather than having to get them in shape or worry about that part of the equation. And It's made things like film sessions, it's recovery. The guys are more alert to what we're trying to teach, and there's 100% buy-in right now, and we all know that's an important part of having a team, and especially when you've got over 25 individuals on this team. Yeah, we're really happy with where the guys are, and I've stated it to them. It's not going to surprise them, to see this interview. They've earned that right because of the hard work they've put in.
Todd,
John, what kind of goals or what kind of bar do you feel like you need to hit this season as a team? When you're looking at it from the start here, it's always, I know you always want to aim high. What kind of things you need to do, not necessarily even wins and losses wise, but just for the program to get where you want to be this season?
We talk openly about it in years where we believe we've got the right mix and we've got the experience. When are we going to be nationally ranked? It's been a couple years. When and what type of results is it going to take for us to be nationally ranked? And we've got some targets out there amongst the group. I'm not going to say them. I'm not going to give any locker room fodder to anybody, but there's no question we've been able to have those discussions too. Now the proof's in the pudding. It all starts on Thursday. What is it going to look like? But I think the guys know there's enough experience in this group. The guys know what a successful collegiate soccer team looks like and what a nationally ranked. We beat 2 of them last spring. So they know what that expectation is. And the greatest thing is they have the high expectation. We talk about ambition. The coaches can have all the ambition in the world. If the players don't also have ambition individually and collectively, you're never going to get where you want to. And there's no question from our leadership council, our captain, Zach Klansnick, Patrick Yim, who opted to come back for one more season to play his COVID year, his 5th year. Those are massive. That says a lot about what they believe about being a student athlete here at the University of Wisconsin.
Paul,
Hi, John. You mentioned the end of last season with a couple of pretty big wins at home. Did that help get your team? You said they came in pretty prepared. Did that help get them prepared? And you start out with a pretty good home schedule. Does that kind of just build the momentum to heading into this season?
Yeah, and in fairness, you don't want to talk about injuries. You don't want to talk about COVID. When we finally were able to put the majority of the players on the field last spring, we beat 2 nationally ranked teams. We gave Penn State a heck of a run at their place. We were a good team by the end of spring, and I think that led to a level of excitement with our guys that if they prepared properly for this season, what could happen. And yeah, it's cool to see in a group of young men who are dealing, as all the athletes are, in a really strange time, want to do everything they can to have a great year. And we are working very hard as a staff to make sure it's fun, make sure hopefully it's rewarding, and have a laugh or two as we're going through it.
Todd,
John, I forgot to ask Paul on this, but maybe, I don't know if you guys are on the same umbrella here, but what's the testing situation like, or what kind of things you guys have to do on a regular basis or semi-regular basis in terms of COVID protocols here?
We get updates from the administration, from the medical people here. Obviously, as coaches, we pay attention to what's going on in the city of Madison. My guys have been great. Whether they're all vaccinated, 100%, everybody's following the proper protocols. Michael Moll does a great job of updating us as coaches and the administration, the medical folks. Knock on wood, we've not had any issues as of right now. And I think that's because the guys are making good decisions. They want to have a season. Nothing's perfect, as we know. This is still a bit awkward with the whole COVID situation, but we're just trying to protect each other, protect ourselves, and protect the other student athletes on this campus and students.
Anything else for Coach Trask? Paul?
Coach, you talked about some experienced guys coming in and a lot of young guys got experience in the spring. I'm assuming that probably means some people might not have the same roles they did in the spring. Is that fair to say? Is there an adjustment for anybody, or is it just kind of helps the competitive nature of the whole team?
Yeah, we actually, kind of stole a little bit of that Bucks mentality of be it the star in your role. And we talked about it openly to the returning players about some of the guys that we were bringing in and the expectations we had of some new players. We felt that would give us some depth that a lot of the other programs here have, and a lot of teams in the Big Ten have. And yeah, it's a step up. And returning players who maybe got some time last fall or last spring, they might have slipped a little bit, but it's their job in terms of the pecking order. It's their job to be ready and push the guy in front of them, never knowing what's going to happen next week. That next man up mentality. And I think we're a lot better prepared for it. I think the guys are keeping their heads on straight. It seems to be a good vibe in the locker room, which is always important within the group. And, some of them just need a bit more development. I think they're honest when they see some of the players we brought in. We brought in a 6'5.5" Icelandic player who's a graduate student who's 24 years old. The attacking midfield we have joining us is a 24-year-old graduate student from Spain. They have a lot of experience. And when you're a 19-year-old, regardless of where you came from, that guy has maybe a 5-year head start on you. And that's how college soccer's gone, especially on the men's side. There are a lot of internationals. There are a lot of graduate students. There's a lot of kids transferring from schools to different schools. And you better be deep. You better be hardened, or you don't have a chance of success. And we love our freshmen that have come in the door. Will Navarre, top player out of Milwaukee, Ryan Keefe, Jonathan Bowen. They're pushing the starters, the key guys right now. But I think they also look at a kid like Moritz. He's not a kid anymore. 6'5.5" central defender, Moritz Kappelsberger, going into his 4th year of collegiate soccer. He's fully developed, and that's what we need to win. That's what the top teams have, and we feel we've got that ability this year.
Last question, I think, goes to Paul.
One more, not necessarily directly related to the team, but Chris Mueller in the offseason, he looks like he's headed overseas. I don't know, is there anything, is that good for the program? You see somebody that to kind of develop. So he was pretty good in the MLS. He's made the national team, and now he's headed over to, I think it's Scotland, perhaps. Just maybe talk about his process or his program, his progress.
Yeah, I've been fortunate to keep a very good relationship with Chris, and we're all excited about his future. Chris has had a burning desire since he was a youth player to see if he could make it in Europe. He has done a great job. Actually, one of my former players is a head coach at Orlando City, Oscar Perea. Oscar loves Chris, but I think down deep realizes Chris wants to try Europe, to go to Edinburgh. He's newly married, see a new city, see a new country. As they say, Scotland is a shop window. A lot of top players start there and then get moved to other places in Europe. Chris is now 25 years old. He's not young in international soccer standards. If he didn't make the move, and he definitely had the option to do very well for himself if he wanted to stay a contract for life with Orlando City, he felt the time was right. And as I do with all my former players, if they're in the pros, I backed him 100%. Chris, you're not going to go to Europe at 31 years old. That's not how it works. If you're going to go, you got to go. And so it even became not necessarily a money situation for him. It was his passion, his dream to play in Europe. And we are so excited for him. We'll miss him in MLS. It's nice when he's playing in America and he's on TV. I guess I'm going to have to figure out a way to get to Scotland and go see him play over there because he's a great player, and we're just wishing him tons of luck. And for anyone who doesn't know, he wrote a book called Bet on Yourself, which talks a little bit about his time as being a student athlete here at Wisconsin. All the proceeds are going to kids who do not read or write around the world. He's not making a penny of it. And pretty neat, we actually bought a copy of the book for every one of our players so they could read it. And we're just proud. That's what Wisconsin athletics is all about. It's what you do here during your career, and then who you become and what you do after. And some of our guys have a chance to move on and play professionally. It's really cool to see.